Hello, my book and wax friends. I am Amber. If you're new, welcome. Welcome back if you're returning. Today's video is my wrap-up video for the books that I read in the month of September and the wax melts that I melted with each book that I paired with them. So let's take a look at my official TBR first. So here's a look at it. Out of the 8 books, I was able to read 4 of the 8. So not the best, but I did read 8 books total. So the books that I didn't get to on my TBR were ones that I started. I'm trying to even remember what ones. So Can't Help Falling, I did end up finishing this month in October, so that'll count in this month. Glittering Edge, I barely started, but I'm not DNFing it. I'm just actually moved it over to my TBR for the month of October, so make sure you watch that video too. Then the other 2, Jane Eyre, I decided to read in November instead. I've started it. I'm about a quarter of the way through, and it was giving me more November vibes, and so I'm going to read it in November instead. And then The House Witch, I started it. I'm enjoying it, but I didn't finish it in September. So I was very much a mood reader for the month. So 4 of the official TBR books were read, and then I did read 4 other books as well. So I'm just going to go in order as I usually do. So let's go. The first book is The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. I absolutely adored this book. So this is an interconnected standalone book in the spell shop world. And this is about actually the creator of, if you're familiar with the spell shop, there is a sentient plant, spider plant in that book. And this book is about actually the creator of the spider plant. And because she did illegal magic, she ends up being turned into a wooden statue. I'm trying to get to my notes, sorry. And she doesn't know, she ends up not knowing like how long she's been a statue, but she wakes up in the middle of this like wintry forest, and her name's Turlu. And she wakes up from being a statue in this forest, and she's like, where am I? What happened? She can kind of remember when she was a statue, like things happening to her a little bit, but she barely remembers just vague stuff from when she was a statue. So she wakes up in this forest and then doesn't know where she is. She's walking around. She's cold. She's scared. And she comes across this greenhouse. She ends up going inside the greenhouse, finds out it's like this huge like maze of greenhouses. And that's where the story begins. So she finds the gardener of the greenhouses and finds out that she's on this island that's like covered in greenhouses, and finds out that the magic in the greenhouses is starting to fail. The gardener, his name is Yarrow. He brought Turlu back from a statue. Come to find out, he thinks that she can save the greenhouses from more plants and everything dying. So that's where the story begins. I really enjoyed this book a lot. It was so cozy and whimsical, which is Sarah Beth Durst's specialty. I feel like I loved the character development of Turlu. She starts out as being very scared of everything, which is understandable. She's been through a traumatic experience. She was harshly punished for something that really she shouldn't have been that harshly punished. but she was made an example of type of thing. And from that trauma, she is dealing with a lot. So there's a lot of character growth that she goes through during the course of the book. And even through her trauma, she has a kind heart, and she's always willing to help others that she comes across on the island, Yarrow and others. She's willing to help them, even though she's scared and feels like they might catch her doing magic again and she could end up as a statue again. So a lot of PTSD. So even though this book is a cozy fantasy, it does tackle some of those harder like mental health issues that I really appreciated. I enjoyed the relationship that did end up developing between Turlu and Yarrow, and the found family aspect that ends up happening with them and some other characters that end up showing up in the books too. The world was just magical. Like I said, I love whimsy. If you've been here for a while, you know how much I love like whimsical fantasy books, and this did not disappoint at all. So The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst, I absolutely give it a 5 stars. Loved it. And the third book, there's a third book coming out. The author just announced like a month ago, and I can't wait for that one. So the main character in the new book, you do end up coming across her in this book. So excited for the third one, and 5 stars. Loved it. Okay, the next book I read on audio, and that is Shady Hollow? Yeah, Shady Hollow. And I do not, Juno Black, I think is the name of the author. And this is a basic like cozy whodunit mystery that takes place in this world that has anthropomorphic animals, is what it is. And so you follow Vera Vixen, who is a fox, and she is a reporter, and she ends up finding out that this toad ends up being murdered. Well, they think it's an accident at first, but then they figure out, no, this toad was murdered. And so they're in this quaint small town of Shady Hollow. And so they're not used to this sort of thing. So the sheriff of the town is kind of a bumbling idiot. The lieutenant or whatever, I guess he wouldn't be, what was he? He was just a regular officer. His name was, what was his name? Orville. He is just inexperienced, but he wants to do his job. He's a very by-the-book person, so he and Vera kind of butt heads, but Vera takes it upon herself to try and figure out how the toad was murdered, and some other mysteries pop up as well during the course of the book. And it was fun. It kept me guessing. I had like some inklings of who might have done it, but I was never like, oh, I think this is the person that did it at all. And so it kept me guessing to the end. And so it was enjoyable. I would rate it a 3 star. The next book I read is The Floating World by Axie O. This is the beautiful Fairy Loot edition. I adore it. But I did have the just the library book copy of it as well, which was the one that I read from, but I had to return it. So this book was for the prompt Mountains on the Cover. This one isn't as mountainous as the other one was, but as you see, there are mountains on this one too. And so this one is about a girl named Wren, and Wren lives with this adoptive family, and they're in this, they're trapeze artists. They go around to different towns telling stories through their acrobatics and that sort of thing. Well, what ends up happening is she calls him her uncle. He ends up getting attacked by a demon and saves Ren in the process, and he gets killed. And then her other, who she calls her little uncle, but he's around her age too, so more like a brother to her, he ends up getting attacked too by a demon. And so she decides to go across the mountains to the underworld, which is below the floating world. So everything's really dark there, but there's this mystery on where these demons came from. And so she's trying to go to find a cure for little uncle. And in the process, at the same time, Sun Ho, who gets hired to find this girl who supposedly has this light magic. And you find out at the beginning, and it is Ren. It is Ren that has the magic. And in the process of little uncle being attacked, she uses the light magic that she's been hiding. And because of that, people across the mountains saw it. So it was like major light magic. And so they know they're out hunting her. So different assassins and hired guns type of people, no guns in this world though, and stuff are out to find her. And some are out to bring her in, and some are out to kill her. And so Sun Ho, he finds her on the way from her trying to go to the underworld, and he doesn't suspect that she is who he's looking for. So the story was so well developed. It had touches of whimsy to it that I really adored. As I just said, I love whimsy. But it felt like a cross between a cozy fantasy and an epic style fantasy. It had both elements for me, I felt like. The pacing was good. The world was well developed, I felt. The ending, besides most of the pacing was good, the ending felt slightly rushed, in my opinion. But for the most part, the pacing was good. Let me see what else, my thoughts. It's hard when you've read a book at the beginning of the month to remember everything, so I do have notes. I loved the relationship that was developing between Ren and Sun Ho. It was a very, very sweet. They were very sweet and caring to each other, and I really enjoyed that as well. And I'm excited to see what happens in the second book, which is coming out this month. Yeah, I don't think it's out yet, but it's coming out in October. And I did get the matching fairy loot one to go with this one. So I'm so excited. I would give this a 4.75. It didn't give me full on 5-star feels, but it was super close. So that is a floating world. And this, as far as content goes, it had one harsh bad word. And that's it. Otherwise, it was clean. So I do highly recommend this one. It was so fun. So The Floating World by Axio. Okay, the next one I read during the month, and I had to return this to the library, so I do not have it on me, is Pumpkin Spice and Everything Nice, which was a YA contemporary fall romance type of book. And it was for the prompt sibling relationship. But Google lied to me because there wasn't any sibling relationship in that book at all. So, oh well, there's nothing I could do about that. But so this is a book about a girl who lives in this like New England town that's famous for fall, and her mother, who is a single mother, owns and runs this local coffee shop in town. and she's always there to help her mom, so she helps in the coffee shop. Well, come to find out, they find out that this other coffee shop that's like a national chain is going to move in across the street from them. And Lucy, who's the main character, I don't think I said what her name was, she's very upset about it, and rightly so. That would be discouraging when she's worrying about what's going to happen to her mom's coffee shop now. She loves everything about fall. She loves desserts and baking, that sort of thing. But she's anti-pumpkin spice lattes. So the synopsis made it feel like she just hated fall in general, at least when I read it. But it's just like she hates pumpkin spice lattes. She thinks they're gimmicky, basic, that sort of thing. And so she's like anti-pumpkin spice latte. So this book... I felt was cute. It was a cute book. Lucy was a typical teenage girl, I felt like, in that she was very overly dramatic about things, a lot of big emotions about stuff and jumping to conclusions. So it was accurate, I felt like, in regards to a lot of teen girl reactions to things. I enjoyed her creative side. As I said, she loves baking. She loves creating new desserts for the coffee shop. And she also enjoys like entering them into their fall harvest festival, which does take place in the story. So it did have some good autumnal vibes to the book. It felt autumny. And if you're really into coffee shop, if you love coffee and all that sort of vibes, you'll enjoy this book. Her relationship that develops with Jack, who is the son of the family of the other coffee shop that comes up, it's more of a friendship. She has a crush on him, and then she finds out what happened, that he's the son of the other coffee shop owners, and so she ends up not liking him, yet liking him at the same time. Their friendship develops very nicely. I wouldn't say this is a romance, even though you get hints of them liking each other. There's no sort of content in regards to romance at all, not even any kisses or anything. So just to be aware, if you're expecting any sort of romance plot, it's not really there. And so I enjoyed the story. And my rating for this would be a 3-star. So it was cute. It was a cute YA contemporary autumnal book. So that is Pumpkin Spice and Everything Nice. Next, on audiobook, I reread Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I wanted to get to these before I reread Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy again, and so I decided it came up on Libby for me to check out through audiobook, and so yeah, I decided to pick this up. So this is the series that the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy stems from. That's like a spinoff from this. And this is a book about two sisters named Scarlett and Tella. Scarlett is the main character in this book. And so it's mainly from her point of view. She's always dreamt of going to this game that happens every year called Caraval. And she and her sister live on this island. Their father is the governor, and they live in an abusive situation. He is not a good man. And so Tella wants to run away. They finally get invited to Caraval. And Scarlett is betrothed to this guy that she's never met, but she looks at him as a way to escape her father and to keep Tella safe, because their mother disappeared when they were young. And ever since, she's kind of taken on the role of mother and protector for Tella. And so she ends up being not wanting to go to Caraval now, because she looks at the only way of getting away from their dad is by marrying this guy, which is supposed to happen just like a week after Caraval is supposed to happen. Well, she ends up going to Caraval, kind of by means that she's not happy about. Julian, who ends up helping Tella and Scarlet escape the island, and Tella kind of drugs Scarlet at first to get her on the boat so they can leave. So anyway, so Scarlet ends up having to play Caraval, and she will get a wish. And it was cute. Again, this was my reread, and so I already know that I liked it. I have to say this time around, I liked it slightly more. I would say I like it more. 3.5 stars. I think I gave it 3 stars last time, but I think I liked it more just because I was happy to be back in the world, in the whimsy sort of thing. But I don't think I'm a fan of the audiobooks of these, because in October I have read Legendary, and the rating for that one is lower than when I read it. I prefer to read these with my eyeballs. Nothing against the person that does the audio narration, but I don't like how she narrated Scarlet and Tella. I prefer to hear their voices in my own head, I feel like, by reading the books with my eyeballs. So this one, 3.5 stars. The next book in the series, the score was lower for me, but still enjoying it. It was never a 5-star series for me like Once Upon a Broken Heart is, but I still enjoyed it. And it's fun to go back and see where some things stem from by rereading the series. Okay, the next one I read is Hemlock and Silver, and this was for the prompt book box book. This is not the book box book version, but I do have the book box book version from Owl Crate, and so I really wanted to get to this one, and that's why I chose it. So this is a reimagining of Snow White, and did I say it's by T. Kingfisher? This is a reimagining of the Snow White fairy tale, but you do not, Snow is not the main character. The main character is a lady named Anya, and she is a healer / she deals with poisons, that sort of thing. She ends up becoming fixated as a child when her cousin ends up being killed by ingesting something that poisons him, and he dies. So she becomes fixated on poisons and trying to find antidotes to poisons on different things from that young age. And so that's kind of her expertise. And she ends up getting asked by the king to come and help him with his daughter, who he suspects is being poisoned, because she's very sick and no other doctor or healer has been able to do anything for her. And so he suspects that she's being poisoned. So he requests that Anya comes and helps. So this has T. Kingfisher's classic character development and humor. I really enjoyed it felt slow at first. You didn't get to the like fantasy elements of the story really until around halfway through. The first half was a lot of her just trying to figure out what Snow might be being poisoned with and what was going on. So a lot of that was happening, and it wasn't until halfway through that you finally got, oh, well, something's happening that I did not think was happening, type of thing. She comes to find out that there's this other world through mirrors, and that's in the synopsis, so I'm not really spoiling anything, but that doesn't happen until about halfway through. So this I enjoyed Anya as a character and the other characters that are in it as well. She has a guard who she ends up becoming close with, who is one of her people to guard her, whose name is Javier. I did enjoy him as well. I enjoyed the cat in the story, and Snow is sick but yet still impetuous type of 12-year-old girl, and she has some secrets that she's been carrying around because of different reasons. So I enjoyed the characters, but it's starting to feel to me like the main characters, this is only the third book I've read by T. Kingfisher, but of these three I've read, the main characters, like Anya, seem to be like carbon copies of each other, and it's just getting a little redundant. Again, I enjoyed her character fine, but it's like a carbon copy of her other characters. And I enjoy the fact that her characters are older and they're not like rail thin or anything like that. That's not the issue at all. It just feels like they're all the same personality type of characters. So that's getting a little tiring, in my opinion. But the overall story, I thought, was a fun one. I know this is categorized as fantasy horror. I would say it's very, very minimal on the horror. I don't read horror, really, at all. I don't like scary stuff at all. And this didn't bother me, really, whatsoever. The horror aspect doesn't even come to play until probably about the last third of the story. And that, not to give anything away, the horror in it is more like disconcerting, kind of unsettling, rather than gory or like super scary. So it's not even anything that I think would necessarily need to be concerning to you if you're like me and you don't like horror in books usually. So I would say it's fine. It was fine to me. The content wise, there was a small amount of profanity, and then one very mild love scene that does fade to black in it. Very mild, but just to be aware. My overall rating for this one, I would probably give a 3.75 stars to. This one is probably in the middle of the three I've read by T. Kingfisher. My favorite still is Nettle and Bone, and my least favorite was Sword Heart of the three. So 3.75 for this one. I just don't think, I don't know if I'll read another book by T. Kingfisher. I think I've given her books 3 tries, and they're just not something that I'm going to go out of my way to read. But I've enjoyed my time as I've read them. So that is Hemlock and Silver. The next book I have read in the month of September is Rewitched, which, again, I had to return to the library. And this is by Lucy Jane Wood, if I'm remembering right. It'll be right here for you, so you'll be able to see. And this is about a girl named Belle, and she is a witch. And they live in modern contemporary times, so in England. She is a witch, and she comes to find out, she didn't know, but she's let her magic kind of fade. She does do magic a tiny bit, but nothing like major, nothing like where she's honed and developed her skills or anything. She finds out that on her 30th birthday, she is supposed to come to this grand witch council to kind of give a reckoning of what she's done with her magic, whether she is worthy to keep her magic or not. And she did not know this until just a couple days before her birthday. And she's like, what? Why didn't I know anything about this? So her mother, she confronts her mother. Her mother said, well, I wasn't allowed to say anything, but it is in the grimoire. It talks about everything in there. And so Lucy is like, okay. And she ends up going and finds out that, gets a replay of things in her life where she's used her magic, like notable times in her life. And from that, they want to get rid of her magic. Well, she kind of gets a reprieve in that they decide, well, we'll let you have this month because it's the month of October. This law that's in the grimoire allows this to happen. If she can turn things around, if she can hone her magic, if she can use it worthily during this month, at the end of the month, they will have a meeting again, and she can show that if she can show that she's worthy, then she can keep her magic. So I thought this was such a fun, cozy, it's witchy women's fiction. It's more women's fiction than romance. There is a romance in this that develops, but it is more of a women's fiction. I enjoyed Belle and her growth through the story. She is kind of stymied in her life because of fear and this fear of failing. She is a perfectionist, and because of that, because of her fear of failing, of not doing her magic right, that's why she's kind of led a little life and not developed her skills as she should have, and helped people as she should have. And so I enjoyed the growth that she ends up coming to find through this story, that she doesn't need to be a perfectionist, that it's okay to fail. As long as you keep trying, you're not failing, type of thing. I enjoyed the other characters in the story, especially Artie, who ends up becoming her like mentor, who helps her learn her skills and all the things that she needs to develop. Then come to find out through the story, there is a mystery, and she finds out that there's someone that does not want her to use and keep her magic. And so there's a mystery throughout. They're trying to prevent this person from keeping her magic. And it all comes to a head, of course, at the climax. So I really, really thought this was so cute and cozy. I love the message of not letting fear dictate your life, on living up to your potential the best you can, and about not being, you don't need to be a perfectionist type of thing. I did enjoy the small amount of romance in the book between her and the main male character. It wasn't anything I thought was like, oh, swoony in any way, but I wasn't against it or anything like that. Content-wise, there was one F-bomb and then a couple other profanities smattered through the book, but nothing like major other than that. And then there was one very short makeout scene, but other than that, the book was fine as far as content goes. And my rating for this book, I would give 4 stars. So it was really fun. I am planning on reading the second book that did just come out in September, which is, I think it's called Uncharmed. I for sure plan on reading that one because I really did enjoy this one a lot. So that is Rewitched. Then the final book that I read for the month of September is The Grace of Wild Things. This is by Heather Fawcett, who is the author of the Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies trilogy, which I adore, 5-star series. Highly recommend that one. So this is a middle grade book, and it was for the prompt that I got child or siblings pick. So my child picked this one for me, and I'm so glad that he did. This is a witchy reimagining of Anne of Green Gables. It is about a girl named Grace, and she's an orphan. She ends up leaving her orphanage to go across Prince Edward Island. So it does take place in Prince Edward Island even. To find this witch that she's heard of that lives in the woods, because she wants this witch to teach her to be an apprentice for her, because she finds out that she is a witch as well. And so she travels to the witch's cottage in the woods, and the witch is not the nicest person. She's a wicked witch, pretty much. And she ends up making a bargain with Grace that if Grace can learn 100 spells that are in her grimoire, if she can successfully practice each of the spells that are in the grimoire, that she will take on Grace as her apprentice. Otherwise, if she doesn't, she is going to take all of Grace's magic. So there was a lot of nods to the Anne series. It is seriously like something I could imagine Anne Shirley from Anne of Green Gables like telling in her head, imagining in her head herself as a witch type of version. It was so cozy. It was so whimsical. I loved the whole atmosphere of where they live in Prince Edward Island. I felt like Heather Fawcett did a really good job paying homage to Ella Montgomery and her wonderfully, beautifully descriptive natural world writing that Ella Montgomery does. I felt like Heather Fawcett did a very, very good job in keeping true to that type of writing. And I loved all the characters in this. I did even come to appreciate the witch in the series, but I loved Grace. And again, she was giving total Anne vibes. And so I don't know if that was part of the reason why I loved the book so much, just because it's an homage to Anne of Green Gables. And so it gave me that nostalgic feeling. If you've been around, you know I've been rereading the Anne series this year. But either way, I thought this was such a charming, fun, cozy, fantastical middle grade story. I loved also Windweaver, who is Grace's familiar, her crow that she raised from when he was a baby crow. I don't know if you'd call him a chick as a baby, but he was a baby crow. And they can speak to each other. And I loved their dynamic. They were so cute. I loved the extra characters that Anne ends up befriending as well in the story. And yeah, I loved it. It was so good. So obviously, if you aren't familiar, if you can't tell, 5 stars for sure. So this got 5 stars for me too. That is The Grace of Wild Things. I loved it. Okay, so let me know if you've read any of these. And now let's move on to the wax I melted with each of the books. So I didn't with audiobooks, but these are other ones that I was inspired to use and pair with each of the books that I was reading physically. So the first one I have for the Enchanted Greenhouse is, what is it even called again? Cider and Crimson Berries. And all these that I have to share are available now. My website is always listed, but this is a good cider pomegranate type of cider. And I do enjoy it. I'm not big into pomegranate fragrances, but this one ended up being very nice when I was melting it. So I did enjoy it. I felt this was a good fit because this takes place like it's snowy, late fall, winter type of thing. And so outside on the island it's all snowy, and this is like a wintry cider scent. So I felt it worked really well for that one. Then for the floating world, I decided to go with, let me make sure I'm doing the right ones. Yes. With Apple Harvest Dreams. This is also in the same collection as the other one. It's from the Harvest collection. All 5 bars, amazing, but you can get them individually now, which is also amazing. So this is a really nice, like, apple-y, outdoorsy scent, like you're in the orchard. And I felt like it worked really well for the story because they're on a quest, they're out in the wild type of thing. And so it felt like a good fit for sure. Then for the next book, which was Pumpkin Spice and Everything Nice, how could I not do this one? Pumpkin Honey Spice. I was like, of course, have to do like a pumpkin spice scent for this book. So this one actually smells kind of cornbready honey spice to me. It's so good. This is my favorite from the Harvest Collection bars. Like I said, a few of these are, well, these 3. The first 3 are from the Harvest Collection. This is such a yummy scent. This is my favorite from that collection. So it had to go with that book, obviously. Then for the book Hemlock and Silver, I decided to do Frights and Delights just because, you know, ooh, horror, fantasy, spooky times in this book, even though it wasn't super horror, like I said. So Frights and Delights, the name is what made me decide on this one. This is a mapley gourmand type of scent. It's nice. It's a good one. And yeah, it's good. And then for Rewitched, which again, I don't have the actual book on me right now, I chose First Day of, oh wait, no. Was it this one? No, what was it? Yeah, no, not that one. I chose Salted Caramel Cider. And this one I decided on, oh, excuse me. Just because of the cider aspect, you know, with her trying to learn her magic, and there was some like potion-y types of things that she had to do. I was like, salted caramel cider. That's a good choice. So this one's good. This one almost has like a bready element to me for some reason, but it's a good scent. It's a yummy cider mixed with gourmand scent to my nose. And then lastly, for The Grace of Wild Things, I picked First Day of Fall. And this one I decided on because it's like an outdoorsy pumpkin leaf nutmeggy scent. And for The Grace of Wild Things, Grace is out in the woods, in the outdoors, soaking up all the good autumnal and other season vibes. And so First Day of Fall for sure felt like it was the perfect choice for the story. So that's it, you guys. Those are the books and the wax that went with them that I read and melted during the month of September. It was a good reading month. Let me know down in the comments, what was your favorite book that you read during the month of September? I am always down to hear those things. And if you don't have anything to say, please still leave a comment, like an emoji, like let's say some fall leaves. Leave a fall leaf emoji for me, because comments do help my channel to grow and for the algorithm, you know, the whole YouTube algorithm thing, because I'd like to have more people, you know, see my content. So if you could, I would appreciate it. I appreciate all of you guys, no matter what. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Until next time, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.